Hello and welcome to Pro Trader Strategies Market Commentary for Monday, July the 8th. My name's Eric Wilkinson and some of you may recognize me as the Wolfman. I'm here to teach you guys some different option strategies you can implement into your portfolios, but please do that in your own way. Also remember, past performance of any trading system or methodology is not necessarily indicative of future results. All right, it being a Monday, yes, we don't have a whole lot of economic data really to go on. We did get German industrial production coming in line with expectations, but that's about it, and it wasn't even a major economic data point to really look at. Overall markets right now really trying to decide what's going to happen, which is the next shoe to drop. You know, you'd think after the weekend I was expecting a little bit more bullish sentiment coming into this week with nothing happening over the weekend. I thought that most people would come out and start buying. Not really what we're seeing right now. We are seeing a little bit of buying pressure in crude oil, as you can see here, up about 36 cents right now. Came up and tested the Fibonacci that we've been talking so much about. It lines up with the zero Fibonacci extension there, and the market is bouncing away from that. So I thought that we might see a little bit bigger test of this area right in here. As you can see, we came up, tested that area, which lines up with $58 a barrel. That got rejected. We got $58 and then $59 a barrel right in a row, really defending that $60, which is a psychological level we've talked about so much in the past. But it's also a major number because that $60 a barrel, because as soon as we get above that, gas becomes a lot more expensive, above $3 a gallon, and we would like to see that much less, especially in an economy that's struggling. So I would like to see this roll over. It looks like we've got a bit of a topping pattern going on here. Any type of correction where we get a doji that kind of looks like that, whether it's green or if it's red, it is going to look very bearish and look like it wants to come back down to the point of control, which lines up with $52.50, and that's where I think that the sweet spot is for oil and the economy, to be quite honest. More so probably the economy. And then we've got gold coming back off, again testing that 1400 troy ounce area. That is acting as support and resistance. Bulls want to stay above that. The bears want to try and cover this gap right here. So there is a major technical move probably going to happen, I'm guessing this week. So I think that the market is going to try and cover the gap in between here. It's been defended. It's a strong area of support right here at that 1377 area. That is where the bulls are really coming out in force and defending this area right around 1380, 1377. Let's call it 1380 just for ease of that. And then right down here to 1360 is where that gap is. So there's about a $20 move there that needs to happen to cover that gap. I think that we might see that this week, especially if we see the equities start to move higher. Not seeing that right now, but we could. All right, bonds, after peeling out a lot of that Fed interest rate lowering, you know, we've been talking about that. Economic data is not showing that we really need a Fed rate cut at this point. All right, there's no inflation. The economy is trudging along. I'm not saying we're seeing a robust economy at this point, but there's not inflation, so we don't increase interest rates, and I think we're moving along. We haven't seen a recessionary situation here in the United States, so I don't think that they really have any need to lower interest rates at this point. I think we're going to have to fight through it before we really need to lower interest rates, at least the way everything's kind of shaping up right now. All right, this is the VIX back into the teens. You know, Friday we were talking about how we got out of the teens. Now we're back in there. That's good for premium selling strategies, especially now that we're back into earnings. That's going to be going to help us with our strategies throughout earnings. All right, Dow Jones Industrial Average off about 130 points. It was down 150 earlier today, but lining up with this, value area high, it feels like we are overextended to one side or the other, but to the upside in this case, usually when we get outside these value areas. But you can see price and volume is being accepted up at these levels at this point. So it's not as a dire of a situation being overextended is when you get down in like this area. You can see not a whole lot of volume and price being accepted there, but you get up above this side and we can see price is being accepted even by this volume node here. That is starting to create acceptance at these levels, so it's not as overdone as one might feel. All right, NASDAQ off about 57 points. Was off 60 earlier today, but came down and tested 78 Fibonacci extension that I have put up here. That is acting as support and resistance. You can see once we popped above that, that was the support level. Now that acts as, it was a resistance area right in and around this area, acting as support and resistance. So that's a pretty strong number. Price being accepted up here, but I do believe that the market is overdone to the upside, and we are going to start rolling over. Hopefully this week. And then we move over to the E-mini S&Ps, similar setup. It looks almost the same on the chart. We got Friday's doji that makes it look like a topping pattern. Anything settling down here is going to look very bearish, especially if we settle below Friday's low. If the market settles down there, it is going to look like we are definitely confirmed to move to the downside and maybe even back to the point of control here. E-mini S&Ps, not quite an outside day, but one thing to note is they did not make any attempt to flush out the short overnight inventory. Usually we talk about this. Overnight gets one direction or the other, then they have a tendency to get a little bit ahead of themselves. The daytime market session opens up and tries to flush those weaker hands out, because we look at the overnight session as the retailer who has a little bit weaker hands, just looking for small incremental moves, maybe to the support and resistance, where the day session really wants to be the king of the street and print the highs and the lows of every move. We remember we got this 3006 overnight. That is something that is going to be wanted to be, that the day session is going to want to print within that open market operations. All right. So, but when we get this overnight inventory very bearish, as you can see here, we have a lot of shorts making this market move down. No attempt to flush those guys out. We would expect them to kind of rally up to maybe around this point to flush out the overnight shorts. Not really a whole lot of attempt to do that, which usually indicates that the market is going to want to roll over a little bit more. So I'm expecting that to happen. If we get a settlement below Friday's low right here, that is going to look like we are very bearish and a big confirmation to the downside. All right, outside of that, I'm still riding out my GDXJ, which is the gold miners, the junior gold miners, because gold is starting to roll over here. As you can see, we're starting to get some bearish moves in GLD, which should cause GDXJ, which is the junior gold miners, to start coming off as well. As you can see, they are starting to move lower. I want to see these guys look to try and cover a similar gap that we've been talking about right here to here. Another gap that should be a target for the markets to try and cover in or fill in that little area, which is just a technical thing that we see a lot of times happening in the markets. Anytime you get those gaps, they want to get covered. Okay, and that might even be a overarching theme to try and cover these gaps before we try and resume to the upside to print some of those overnight highs in the day session. All right, so settling down right now, looking for some trades, but everything is premium buying strategies, and I think that the market is going to start settling down a little bit here. We're going to see some volatility come out, so I don't want to do premium buying strategies where I'm collecting a credit and I'm just watching theta and volatility come out of those. I want to stay away from that type of situation, so I'm going to write out the rest of these. If I find anything, I will let you know on Twitter or in these daily market commentaries. Also, Facebook, give us a thumbs up, like or follow our page, because then you get first access to these videos and any other deals we might have out there, videos that you guys might want to watch. So check it out on Facebook at Pro Trader Strategies, and that's about all I got for you guys, other than if you can't take that, take it easy.